So this week I would like to talk about the elephant in the room, and no, I don't mean the miniature poodle. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people. Thank you so much for tuning in for another video and spending time with me. And if you are watching for the very first time, then thank you very much for choosing one of my videos, and a very big welcome. It's lovely to have you here, and I really hope you enjoy what you see and you stick around, because I love to see new people in the comment section and to have new people follow. I love it when I see comments in the comment section where people say, oh, I've just stumbled across your channel. I love stumblers. I'm just crumbling some biscuits on the floor to keep Captain Pip Digby quiet, hopefully, whilst I chat to you for half an hour. So yes, this week I want to talk about something that I've been saying I'm going to talk about for a while. I've not got round to addressing because it's a really big, complex topic, which you've probably noticed already by the title of this video. Because what I want to talk about today is the hugely complex topic of, has my gender transition going through hormones and surgery caused me to have CFS? Now, that's a really impossible question to answer, really. And now most of my vlogs are quite long anyway, because I'm a thinker, I'm a talker. I very much like to talk as if you're in the room with me and share my thoughts. So this vlog is going to be quite a long one because there's lots to say on this. But I want to really address this question on three kind of levels, because it comes at me, this question, from three definite, distinct angles. This question gets asked to me by other trans people who are understandably concerned, you know, trans people who are about to start hormone therapy or to go through surgeries that are concerned, you know, is going on testosterone or estrogen or cross-sex hormones going to put me at risk of having chronic illness like CFS, or is having surgery going to put me at risk of having CFS? So it's questions from trans people, which are completely valid, and absolutely I want to answer that. Then there's questions from our allies who, you know, would like to know more. Like, does my CFS have anything to do with my transition? And then there's the gender critical turf camp, those that are anti-trans. And now lots of you have very kindly in the past and gently pointed me in the direction of people who have been misusing my videos, and I'm very grateful of that. People that have used the problems I'm having now with my health to kind of use as an anti-trans rhetoric as to why you shouldn't go through transition, why you shouldn't have surgery, because this is what happens to you, you know. Unfortunately, the gender critical people, those who are anti-trans, I'm being kind here with my language because there are other things I'd like to call them, will always use something. Do you want the toilet, or are you just being daft? You being daft? Yeah. They will always use something because that's what they are. They're anti-trans. This is a whole other video, so I'm not even going to go into why they're anti-trans. That's for another video. But they will use anything. And they will, you know, they've done lots of things like pairing my scooter video with an old complication video, as if the complication of my urethral surgery had a direct impact on my ability or inability to walk and use the scooter, you know, things like that. So yes, unfortunately, my chronic illness is often used as a proof that gender transition is bad for you. So I get a lot of comments directly on my channel. See, this is why you shouldn't go through gender transition, because this is what happens. If you go through gender transition, you're going to become chronically ill and disabled and all of these things. When my videos are being repurposed on gender critical channels and forums, it's like the proof that this is how gender transition, this is what gender transition does, this is what gender transition causes, you know. So there's that aspect as well. Now, I'm not addressing that today because there is no addressing that really, because it is pointless arguing with idiots. Sorry, there's no other way. I'm not. I'm. I have ME/CFS. I have very limited energy, and I've got to the point in my illness now where I'm like, there are certain people in my life who I love. There are certain things in my life that I love. Those are the things I'm spending my energy on. The rest can just go. My transgender family and my allies are where my energy goes. Unfortunately, when TERFs are so far gone, when the gender critical people are so far gone, they almost don't really want to hear any other side of the story anyway. So it's a waste of my energy to engage. So I just don't. So this video is not for those. If you've noticed in the comments now, what I tend to just do is just delete and block people, because it's healthier for me and it's healthier for everybody, really. There is a time and a place for dialogue, but the majority of the time, dialogue isn't even wanted in the comments. It's just done just out of pure just hatred a lot of the time. It's just vile hatred that a lot of these people, in the loosest term, engage in these nasty comments. There's no point. So this video really isn't for those people at all. So this video is really for the transgender people who are genuinely concerned, is going through gender transition going to cause ME/CFS, and allies, because I think what happens is there are so many trans allies or just well-meaning people in the comment section who have said things like, have you considered going off hormones? And so this video is for those people, because I'm aware that there's a number of people who have suggested things like that to me, and I've got rather triggered in the comments on a few occasions. I've tried to be very mindful about the way I'm replying and explain my feelings. But I think this is the problem, you see, because in our media, being trans is portrayed as something very negative, that transition is something that's very dangerous to go through. And so it's automatically in people's mindsets that hormones are dangerous, that surgery is dangerous. Of course, all surgery comes with risk. Of course it does. But people's minds automatically go to, if this person is poorly, it must be because of gender transition. So when people, well-meaning, have said something in the comments to me like, have you thought about going off your hormones? I've understandably got a bit upset, because it's that mindset, isn't it? Straight away, it's your hormones that are causing it. It's your gender transition, where I'm on loads of tablets for all sorts of things. I have all sorts of stuff in my past that could have caused it. But people automatically go to the gender transition aspect, because even if they didn't mean it intentionally, we soak it in from the media around us that gender transition does harm. And so well-meaning people might not mean to be, prejudice is the wrong word here, but they're automatically thinking that hormones are dangerous. Do you see what I'm saying? So this video today really is for kind of those kind of people, to educate on those two levels, really. I've waffled on already just talking about that aspect. See, 10 minutes, I told you I was going to waffle about this. But I think it's really important to address, because it's been bothering me for a while, and I've been talking around it and not really addressed it, so that's what I wanted to do today. So, in terms of hormones themselves, testosterone does not cause ME/CFS. Taking cross-sex hormones does not cause ME/CFS. It is not going on testosterone that has caused me to have chronic illness. Lots of people take synthetic hormones for a number of reasons. It's not just transgender people. There are cisgender women, there are women assigned female at birth that take cross-sex hormones, whether it be for transition, like it is for me, whether it is for going through menopause. It's been used for years, tested for years. This is not something new. It's not that testosterone has caused ME/CFS. If it did, we'd see it by now. And let's remember that ME/CFS affects so many different people in so many different walks of life. If it was just from going through gender transition and taking hormones, we would have seen this by now. Hormones, testosterone, estrogen, all these kind of synthetic hormones have been used and tested for a long time. So no, it is very, very unlikely that is what's caused it. Now, is it likely that surgery has caused my ME/CFS? Now, this is where the answer gets very, very complex, and why this is so hard to give an answer. Now, it's very important first to understand what causes ME/CFS, and now to do this, I'd have to give you a whole lesson on what causes ME/CFS. ME/CFS is a neurological condition of a biological origin. Used to be seen very much as a psychological illness, one that's in the mind. It isn't. It's a biological condition, neurological autoimmune condition. I'm going to put some links at the bottom so you can have a look much more in detail, so that I don't took too much time explaining this. But basically, neurological conditions like ME/CFS are thought to likely be caused by a viral or bacterial infection of some kind. So it is possible that it was caused by a surgery infection. It is very possible that that is the case. If it is the case, what is often common in ME/CFS is that you have a weakened immune system in the first place to have that infection. And this is where it gets really complex. Because those that know me will know that I have an incredibly, incredibly complex history. And there are so many things in my past that could have caused my ME/CFS. So I didn't know I was transgender until the age of 37. And up until that age, I'd had chronic, severe mental health problems, which I realised eventually were because of undiagnosed gender dysphoria. When you live in distress for so many years, that messes up with your immune system. You have your immune system and your nervous system. Your nervous system has two basic functions: your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system. And if you're in your parasympathetic nervous system too much, pip down please, you are not in your rest and digest state. Your body ends up in a state of fight and flight all the time, and it can't rest, it can't digest, it can't heal, and that chronic state of stress is really, really bad for your body. And it's that, likely more than anything, that's caused my ME/CFS. So actually, my being trans has caused it, probably, but because I wasn't diagnosed, I wasn't discovered as being trans earlier on, which is why I advocate for support for trans people early on in life, which is why gender affirming care is so important. You know, young people should have support, should have access to support, access to be able to change their name, to experience living in the gender that they recognize themselves to be, because otherwise this heightened state of stress is really, really bad for our health. So because I didn't know who I was for so many years, and because I was in so much distress, I added alcohol and drugs into the system as a misguided way to cope because I was in so much pain. So I had chronic stress affecting my nervous system. I had alcohol, drugs added into the mix because I couldn't cope. Even more stress on my body. Then I added in self-harm. I was constantly severely self-harming to the point of having to go to hospital and have stitches. I mean, everybody knows I waved my arm around a lot. I am covered in scars. You can see that these were very serious cuts. I was being stitched up multiple times a week, losing blood multiple times a week. I've had multiple suicide attempts. You know, all of that happened from the age of 13 when my dad died, which is when things got really chronically bad for me, right the way through up until I finally got clean and sober in 2010. And then 6 months after that was when I started to become aware that what had been going on for me was gender dysphoria. You know, so it's all of this, really, I think personally, that what had happened is over time I'd weakened my immune system really badly with all of these things I'd put in my body and the stress I put my body under. My body had been living in just chronic stress all the time, this heightened anxiety I've lived with all of my life. And so when I did go through a very bad year, as you know, with my lower surgery, where I had a year of quite bad infections with my urethral hookup, it is possible that in that year, because it was just after, at the end of that year, that I started to get extremely exhausted, that it's possible that it's the infection there, that I just never recovered from, and that's where the ME/CFS started. But again, this is all hypothetical. It's a guess. I really don't know. The first thing I was diagnosed with was hypothyroidism. So it's also possible that I was living with that for a long time. And because that wasn't diagnosed, perhaps that put too much of a stress on my system. And because that wasn't diagnosed, that then caused ME/CFS. It is so hard to tell. And to try and boil down, did gender transition cause my ME/CFS? It's impossible. It's so absolutely impossible to answer this question. And I would honestly say no. I would say I've got a multitude of factors in my life that have likely come together to provide a perfect storm for this chronic illness to surface, because trauma is often a factor in chronic illness as well, which makes sense when you think about how the nervous system is impacted. Chronic illness, immune system, nervous system, all of these things impacted. Darling, you're getting a bit excited about your duck. Can you just calm down? All of these things like combine in a perfect storm for me and cause ME/CFS is what I'm guessing, but I will never know, will I? That's the thing. Now, this leads me on to like the constant question I get. People say, I can't believe you're not willing to even try coming off your testosterone. Why would I come off my testosterone? This would be a little bit like saying to somebody, come off your antidepressants. Now, it's a little bit like robbing Peter to pay Paul, isn't it? I am so much healthier in so many other ways, mentally, definitely, after going through gender transition. If I now stopped the testosterone, especially because I've had hysterectomy, oophorectomy, can never say that word, everything else, I don't produce any sex hormones by myself. The body needs a sex hormone to live. So I have to have that synthetically anyway. So if we take away the testosterone, my levels will then drop. My mood's going to then drop. In terms of masculizing effects, probably at this point in my transition, coming off the testosterone, I probably won't see many reversed changes, if any, probably, because my body doesn't make estrogen and all of that. But it's documented. If men's testosterone levels drop, so does their libido, so does their mood. So all of that would happen, let alone the kind of general dysphoria of knowing that I've not got testosterone in my system, just messing with a drug that I've been on and has been steady in my system and my levels have never changed over, I'm coming up, am I 11 years on testosterone now? I think so. So I've had them changed once, because other than that, I've been really stable on libido. And every 10 weeks, even after I had my hysterectomy, oophorectomy, all of that, my levels didn't change. So why mess with what's not a problem? There are so many other things I'm taking for my health reasons that are probably more of a problem. In fact, as I shared last week, I've just come off venlafaxine and weaned off that because it was likely that venlafaxine was probably playing in to some of this symptoms I'm getting as part of my POTS and orthostatic intolerance, like the heart palpitations and the chest burning and the dizziness and some of that. So that antidepressant has actually got far more side effects than the synthetic libido testosterone has. So for just people to just not trans people. I mean, and I know that lots of people, cis people, our allies, are well-meaning when they say this. Have you tried coming off your testosterone? But what I'm getting at is, why aren't people saying, have you tried coming off your blood pressure tablets? Have you tried coming off your antidepressants? People automatically go to blame the testosterone, as if it's just automatically assumed that it's bad, because people are just told that gender transition in general is bad and it causes things that are bad, when actually it's been the most positive thing in my life, going through gender transition and going through male puberty and having testosterone run through my veins. So coming off testosterone would likely do me so much harm, so very much harm, that it would be the last thing in the world I want to change. Whereas actually coming off venlafaxine has probably been the best thing I've ever done, actually, because it was really helpful for me in the beginning. Venlafaxine, after Mum died, swapping to that from another antidepressant was probably one of the best things I did. But it always gave me brain zaps anyway, because it's really short-acting testosterone antidepressant. And now, Pip, leave it, good boy. But now, I've been off it 3 weeks. I'm not having any brain zaps whatsoever, which is lovely. I'm only on a very low dose of escitalopram at the moment. I might not even need to go up on the antidepressant, because it may well be that it was my thyroid and the ME/CFS that's been causing most of the mood and anxiety problems. That has just been because I've been returning to the GP for the last 3 or 4 years with chronic fatigue and issues, and I've just been like pushed away. Oh, it's just mental health, and given higher and higher antidepressants. So it might not be that I don't need those, you see. So this is the thing, we call it the trans broken arm, that whenever you go to a GP or people talk about trans stuff medically, the first thing that's blamed is being trans and gender transition, the trans broken arm, and it's happened to me with GPs I've gone to lots of times. You go for like an ear infection and they say, oh, maybe like during gender transition, like something happened to your ear and that's why you've got earache. And it turns out all you've got is wax. The trans broken arm. It's just like automatically all people see is trans, and it gets stuck at that, and it happens all too frequently. And I've talked to other people like this as well, and they say it helps. It happens with mental health as well. It does. If you've got something that's so glaringly different and big, often that's all that gets seen, and everything else gets lost. I've gone off track a bit here, but do you see what I'm saying? So careful, darling. The synopsis of this is, did gender transition cause me to have ME/CFS? Absolutely, I don't know. Absolutely, I don't know. But I don't think so, because I think it's likely that just going through an incredibly stressful life that I've gone through is what's caused ME/CFS. And I actually think, had I been recognised as having gender questioning at a young age, had I been supported to explore my gender at a young age, have gone through gender transition at a younger age, I wouldn't have had the extreme anxiety, depression, self-harm, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, all of that. And then I likely wouldn't be where I am now. I actually think it's the years of chronic stress that's caused what I have got today. I think I could have coped with all of the surgical complications, and my body would have been resilient enough to recover from that, had it not been weakened from years of this chronic stress and trauma that was growing up, not knowing I was trans and all these other stuff going on. That's what I think anyway. But of course, it's impossible to absolutely know for sure, isn't it? Because there is still not enough research into ME/CFS and what causes it. This is an illness that's debilitating. It's a hugely debilitating condition that has been around for centuries, that's just got ignored and ignored and ignored. And now that long COVID is so prominent, finally, you know, it's getting looked at, but it's got so much stigma and misinformation attached to it because it's been looked at as a psychiatric illness rather than the biological illness it is. So it is severely lacking in any proper concrete evidence and proof and all of that business. So it is so difficult. But as I've said before, it isn't always helpful to actually know what's caused something, is it? I mean, it can be helpful for people, I suppose, to know if they're going in to surgery themselves, if they're going through something themselves like gender transition. I suppose it can be helpful for people to know so they can look after themselves. But it certainly doesn't help me now, does it? But what I would say to people, and I think I want to make lots of videos around this anyway, because I've had my mind changed about, especially about mental health. I used to very much push my way through anxiety. I was always of the mindset, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I think I would now be feel the fear and do it anyway, but have lots of time to rest and relax around it. And I think that would always now be my motto around gender transition. Is it's such a stressful time, and I think when we go through gender transition, we're so kind of like forced to think, well, everyone else has to get on with their life, so do I. Just because I'm trans, I shouldn't be allowed to have any like special privileges. I've just got to get on with it. No, you're going through a hell and back. Just go with being trans. So have lots of time for rest and relaxation, to reset your nervous system, to let your body rest and digest. You know, it's not just about recovering from surgery. Have lots of time in between to make sure you're looking after your body. Hang on, he needed the toilet. So yes, I think that would be my thing. That going through gender transition is incredibly stressful. Absolutely it is. And going through surgery is incredibly stressful and has its own complications. So the two combined do put anybody at risk. You know, there are always complications with these things. So just bearing that in mind, and not only putting in place time for rest and recovery from surgery, as you should anyway, but just putting in lots of time to recover and relax and rest. Just making sure you do lots of things to reset your nervous system, to give yourself space to just take a breath and breathe and have a break. We live in such a fast-paced world that we're so forced to just get up and get on all the time, and that's hard enough for the average person on the street, let alone when you're trans as well. So I think that would be my advice, that you just never know if you're somebody that's going to get this. The fittest person in the world can end up with CFS. You know, it can affect anybody. That's the truth of this. So all you can do is just take care of yourself the best you can and make an informed decision about what your needs are when it comes to going through transition. That's the best you can do, because no one can ever know for sure. But it doesn't mean that gender transition is dangerous. Of course it doesn't. And conversely, it also doesn't mean that, you know, just because I've gone through gender transition and now I've got CFS, that my life is now rubbish and awful and I should never have gone through gender transition. Because it's not like, that's it, my life's over. Gender transition is gender transition. Gender transition is going through gender transition and feeling happy and whole as a man I was always meant to be. It was never going to protect me from anything bad happening in my life. I'm always going to be vulnerable to illness, bad luck, like anybody else. You know, it doesn't make me invulnerable, does it? I am FinnTheInfinncible, but I'm not invulnerable to life happening. And that's not what it's about. So it's funny that people say, look, oh look, he's gone through gender transition and that it wasn't worth it, was it? Because look at him now. What a daft thing to say, you know. You cannot know what's going to happen around the corner. Anything could happen. I could go through gender transition and get run over next week. That doesn't mean that gender transition wasn't successful, does it? That's just bad luck happening. And this is just bad luck that's happened. But my life is still a million times better than it ever was. And it's just that life now has to look a little bit different. Okay, a lot bit different than it did before. But I'm making sense of this and I'm making it work. And it's okay. And I do not regret going through gender transition one bit. If anything, it makes this more manageable, because You know, at least I've gone through transition and I'm the man I'm supposed to be. And that gives me daily joy. So even on the worst of days, I am who I am. And I'm comfortable in my own skin. I love my life. And that's what's important, you know. So I think I've waffled on enough about this. I hope all this makes sense. If you have any questions, any comments from trans people and kind allies, absolutely, I'm happy to answer them. Anybody watching this who's gender critical, anti-trans, and just wants to comment, then I'm not even going to apologise. You're just going to be blocked, deleted, and sent away because I have no energy, and this is a loving space for support, learning, and growth. And that's it. And I encourage everyone else to do the same. You don't have to spend your life and your precious energy justifying yourself, validating yourself, or wasting your breath on those that have nothing good or supportive to say to you. Yes. And on that note, I'm going to sign off because this puppy is just wanting my attention. He's done really well for half an hour. Emily, bub. Do you want to come say hello? You're just going to bite my hand off if I try and pick you up. I've managed to brush him today. Have I got any announcements this week? I don't think I have. I didn't write anything down. Although Deb Mansbridge, I want to say thank you again. Already you're a member of the Friends of Finn. But you've left me another donation this week to say thanks for my video and to say that Pip's lovely. Come say thanks to Deb and say hello to Cat Marley. Pip, that's my finger. Yeah, he's in shark mode. And he's had a brush. Look, he's had a brush. Pip, what's this? Come up here. Look, say hello. Say hello nicely. No. Pip, come up here. Pip, what's this? Pip. As I keep saying, never work with children and animals. He can't get on the sofa yet. Or almost. Come on. Can you do it? Can you? You can't quite, can you? Oh, he did. Okay, we're almost on. Come and say hello. Come round this way while you've got something in your mouth and say hello. No, he's in Count Popular mode. This is what we call it. When he's like this, he's just in Count Popular mode. Aren't you? Count Popular. That's what you is. Yes. So yes, thank you, Deb. There will be, by the end of this week, an update on my Ko-fi page with lots of pictures of him that I've just finally sorted off my Google Drive and I'm putting onto my Ko-fi page that follow right through from him as a pup to now that I know you all wanted to see. So I've got that on my Ko-fi page. But thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of my supporters, my Friends of Finn supporters and members, because you've all been really patient at the moment because it's now March and I haven't donated. I haven't put up any new exclusive members videos or content yet, and I do apologise about that. I'm very behind, but I will, and it'll probably all be puppy themed. I'm away next week. We have just bought a second-hand trailer tent. I've been saying this for a while, that me and Chris are going to sell all our camping gear because it's just impossible. I've been hanging on, trying to still go camping. It's just not working because I'm not doing any of it. Chris is doing it all, and it's not fair. It's not fair that he has to lug it all down from upstairs. He has to lug it all into the car. He has to unpack it all. He has to put it all up on his own. It's just not fair on him, is it? So we've just bought a second-hand trailer tent, and we're going away just for a couple of days, only around the corner to a campsite, just to try it out and just to see what this one is like in it. So there won't be a video next week. But if I manage to get a video together, or even a little bit of footage, sorry, I will upload some footage. But just check it out on Insta. And I'll share some pictures on Insta. Right, I'm going to go because Count Popular is demanding. Pip, you've been a good boy. What are you doing now? I'm just going to get a drink. Right, thanks for watching, everybody. As I said, I hope that makes sense. Any comments, questions, pop them below. Love you all. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next week.